Warm greetings from the Heights Inn. It's Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for waiting on me. Hope you all are having a prosperous week and hope you have a great weekend. Tomorrow is Friday. I know most of you are probably looking forward to getting a little relaxation in. The weekend is vastly approaching. Great weather in most places in the United States. And naturally, there have been some tornadoes touched down. So prayers for those who live in areas that have been touched by tornadoes. Hello, Joelle. Thank you all for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I have several updates that I'm going to bring you before I get into the story of the hour, which is Vicky White and Mr. Casey White still on the run. My first story is pertaining to Mr. David Chappelle. Well, you should know some people don't take kindly to jokes, which makes no sense. Why would anybody go pay money to then jump on stage and tackle the entertainer, performer? Makes no damn sense. We're going to go ahead and get started. TMZ is the source.
I thought it was you for a second. Hey, my man, he's a bitch ass. Get that guy the fuck out of here. We're gonna have some fun. Hollywood Bowl, you owe me 10 minutes because your security caught me slipping. Y'all wanna rock? Get that, clean that mess up. Get that out of here. Don't do this on the stage. Get him the fuck out of here. And an ambulance.
I like that.
Hold on, see what he's doing. I'm gonna see if this has a statement.
Not a statement.
Everybody comes out for the curtain call. Shout out to Jamie Foxx, by the way. Jamie, where you at? Jamie, hold up. Make some noise for Fox. Whenever you're in trouble, Jamie Foxx will show up in a sheriff's hat. Turn the mic up.
What the heck?
I thought that was part of the show. I don't know what the fuck. I grabbed the back of his head. His hair was spongy. Absorbent. Listen, I just want to say, man, I've had an incredible time. This man is an absolute genius. We got to make sure we protect him at all times, man. This is what it's about. For every comedian that comes out here, man, this means everything, man. You're a genius. You're a legend. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and we're not going to let nothing happen to you. Right. Give it up. This is Lee's show. Wait. I'm back there. I've been doing this 35 years. I just stomped the backstage. Always wanted to do that. I'm back there squeezing this too. I seen Busta Ramsey on it. It's like, that's how you do it, dog. Hey, yo, where Busta at? Busta, yo, what's up, Busta? Yo, where Busta at?
TMZ is the source. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Let me go ahead and give you the information pertaining to this crazy nonsense. People are just erratic now, have no sense of direction. CNN.com is the source. Dave Chappelle released his first statement about unsettling attack. A representative for Dave Chappelle has released a statement regarding an audience member who attacked him Tuesday night while the comedian was performing at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. As unfortunate and unsettling as the incident was, Chappelle went on with the show. Carla Sims, Chappelle's representative, said in a statement to CNN, Jamie Foxx and Chris Rock helped calm the crowd with humor before Chappelle introduced the last and featured musical guest for the evening. The man who tackled Chappelle, identified as Isaiah Lee, had a knife and is in custody, Los Angeles police told CNN. Video shows Chappelle being attacked on stage. LAPD spokesperson Officer Lizeth Lomeli told CNN that Chappelle had finished his act as he was exiting the stage. A male who was part of the audience jumped on the stage and tackled the celebrity to the ground. Lee, 23, was arrested for felony assault with a deadly weapon and taken to a hospital for medical treatment. Lomeli said, the victim was not injured as a result of the crime, she said. The weapon was a knife blade, Lomeli said. LAPD officer Rosario Cervantes told CNN, excuse me, the suspect had a knife that was a replica handgun. Very, very interesting. Police later released photos of the weapon, which was collected and booked as evidence, according to a release from LAPD. Sims said Chappelle is fully cooperating with the police investigation of the incident. The motive of the apparent attack remains unclear. It also wasn't clear whether Chappelle filed an official police report. Chappelle was performing at Netflix Is a Joke, the festival. We care deeply about the safety of creators, and we strongly defend the right of stand-up comedians to perform on stage without fear of violence, a Netflix spokesperson told CNN in a statement. CNN correspondent Rachel Crane was in the audience and described the bedlam after the attack. According to Crane, the suspect was wearing a backpack. He was dragged stage right, where he was being subdued when Chappelle said, don't do this on stage, take him off. CNN has reached out to Los Angeles Fire Department and the Hollywood Bowl for more information. CNN is the source. Hello, everybody in the chat. Where I have a problem with this is, if this is in a big arena, why didn't you have security? Why didn't you have the batons that you wave and or go through the machine to make sure a person didn't have any weapons on them? So you let somebody come into an arena with a backpack and you didn't check the backpack. Could have had a bomb in there if that's the case. Could have had one of those guns you put together, one of those guns they're talking about now that's, I believe, plastic or something. You can put it together. This is ridiculous to me. First, we have a movie star hitting another movie star / comedian on stage at an awards ceremony. Now we have a random stranger jumping on the stage who has a knife that resembles a gun. This makes no damn sense to me. If you all are not going to have adequate security, such as checking people before coming into a building, arena, boardroom, whatever the place is, you need not have it, because this is ridiculous to me. Now, what if he had the knife under his shirt, in his pants, and then jumped up on the stage and then pulled it out? See, this is ridiculous. Excuse me. Or a gun, which is soever. It's all the same to me. Gun, knife, taser, doesn't matter. Thank God Chappelle had people there. He kept his calm. He was not injured, mainly. And this person is now in custody, and hopefully he doesn't bond out, because somebody this erratic is crazy, because naturally you had to pay a fee to get in to see the performance. I didn't hear that it was free. But either way, free or you have to pay. Security, you need to check people coming into any type of arena, be it an outside festival, inside a building structure. That's the information coming out of CNN. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. It's crazy nonsense. Next story is pertaining to Derek Chauvin. Well, that's true. Well, obviously, nobody wanted to go to jail for beating the hell out of him, beating him to death. Judge overseeing Derek Chauvin's civil rights case accepts plea deal. The judge said he'll sentence the former Minneapolis police officer 20 to 25 years in prison. All right. As most of you know, Derek Chauvin was found guilty for the murder of George Floyd, alongside 4 other former Minneapolis police officers. The judge overseeing the federal civil rights cases of 4 former Minneapolis police officers in the killing George Floyd said Wednesday that he has accepted the terms of Derek Chauvin's plea agreement and will sentence him 20 to 25 years. Chauvin pled guilty December 15th, violating Floyd's civil rights, admitting for the first time that he kept his knee on Floyd's neck even after he became unresponsive, resulting in the black man's death on May 25th, 2020, which is now marking the 2-year mark this month. The white former officer admitted he willfully deprived Floyd of his right to be free from unreasonable seizure, including unreasonable force by a police officer. Under the plea agreement with Chauvin signed, both sides agreed Chauvin should face a sentence ranging from 20 to 25 years, with prosecutors saying they would seek 25. He could have faced life in prison on the federal count. With credit for good time in the federal system, he would serve from 17 years to 21 and 3 months behind bars. U.S. District Judge Paul Magnuson deferred accepting the agreement pending the completion of a pre-sentence investigation. He said in a one-page order Wednesday that the report had been issued, so it was now appropriate to accept the deal. He has not set a sentencing date for Chauvin. Chauvin is already serving a 22-and-a-half-year sentence for his murder conviction in state court last year, though he is appealing that conviction. Excuse me. He would serve the federal sentence concurrently with the state. So he's already facing, 20 to 25 in this federal case. The state is asking for 25. Let's say he gets to 25. You will topple that on top of the 22 and a half. That gives it at 77 and a half years. But he is appealing the first case, which was state. This is stupid to me. The federal plea deal means Chauvin will probably spend more time in prison than he faced under his state sentence. State prisoners in Minnesota typically serve 1/3 of their sentence on parole, which for him would mean 15 years. Chauvin waived his right to contest his federal conviction if Magnuson accepted the plea agreement. Magnuson also has not set sentencing dates for 3 other ex-officers who were convicted of related federal civil rights charges in February. Excuse me. The pre-sentence investigations for Tutel, Thomas Lane, J. Alexander Queen are still underway. They're rescheduled to go on trial next month in a state court on charges of aiding and abetting Chauvin in Floyd's murder. Prosecutors revealed at a pretrial hearing last month that the 3 had rejected plea agreements on the state charges. Terms were not disclosed. Lane's attorney, Earl Gray, said it was hard for the defense to negotiate when the 3 still don't want their federal sentences, still didn't know what their federal sentences would be. So the other 3 officers are going to be going to trial. They have not agreed to a plea due to this information of not knowing what their federal sentences would be. So they're still facing state and federal charges, trials. Chauvin is obviously trying to get the least amount because he went to state and federal court. So the most he could get is probably 15 for good behavior on the state. So naturally, he wants to appeal that. The federal, he's waived his right for a plea for that. Either way, your ass is going to be locked up. You're 50 years old. You're still going to be old when you get out of there, even if you add on 15. Plus, however old you are now, you're still going to be old. So even if you get 15, you're still going to stay in there anyway on the 20 to 25 federal. But this is what happens when you're a narcissist and a sociopath. You'll try to wiggle your way out of just how many years you can when you know you're wrong. You killed the man for no damn reason. It's ridiculous. That's the said information pertaining to Derek Chauvin. Dirty punk. Dirty pig. That's what he is. Next story. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ began to 129 Cash App. All super chats and super stickers are welcome during this live. Thank you so much. I brought you information about Mr. Chappelle, who was tackled on stage. I brought you information about Derek Chauvin. I also brought you information to Chappelle's response to this nonsense. Just to make sure I read what he said. Make sure I read everything. Hello, everybody in the chat. Yeah, make sure I read all that. Okay. The last update before I get into my main stories pertaining to JonBenet Ramsey. Thank you for joining me. The father of JonBenet Ramsey is supporting an online petition asking Colorado's governor to intervene in an investigation into her death more than 25 years ago by putting an outside agency in charge of DNA testing in the case. The 6-year-old was found dead in the basement of her family's home, Boulder, Colorado, in 1996. Bludgeoned and strangled several hours after her mother called 911 to say her daughter was missing and a ransom note had been left behind. Her death was ruled a homicide, but nobody has ever been prosecuted. John Ramsey said he wants DNA evidence that was never tested before to be transferred away from the Boulder police to a different agency, KUSA-TV reported Sunday. Somehow we've got to force the police or take it away from them the ability to go ahead and test some of the crime scene evidence that was never tested for DNA, he said. Why that's never been done and will never be done by the police baffles me. The petition notes that advancements in DNA and the use of genetic genealogy is leading to the solving of more cold cases around the country. It criticizes the Boulder Police Department for not doing enough to use DNA to solve the case, noting that the department said at the time of the 25th anniversary of John Bonet's death that it was actively reviewing genetic DNA testing processes to see if those could be applied to the case. Excuse me. In a statement, a spokesperson for Governor Jared Polis said, the state will review the petition and look into how the state can assist in using new technology and to identify John Benet Ramsey's killer. The statement did not address the involvement of Boulder police. Meanwhile, the Boulder Police Department said it has been working with state law enforcement agencies and the FBI on the investigation of that DNA from the case is regularly checked for new matches, for any new matches. As of December, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation has updated over 750 DNA samples from the investigation with the latest DNA technology, the department said in a statement. We have a shared goal to bring justice and hopefully some peace to John Bonet's family and everyone who was impacted by her loss, Police Chief Maris Harold said in the statement. The police department was criticized for its initial handling of the investigation into the death of John Bonet, who had competed in beauty pageants. The details of the crime and video footage of John Bonet from the pageants propelled the case in one of the highest profile mysteries in the United States, unleashing a series of true crime books and TV specials. While the district attorney at the time of John Bonet's death said her parents were under an umbrella of suspicion early on, tests in 2008 on newly discovered DNA on her clothing pointed to the involvement of an unexplained third party in her slaying, and not her parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, or their son, Bert. That led former district attorney Mary Lacey to clear the Ramseys of any involvement 2 years after Patsy Ramsey died of cancer, calling the couple victims of this crime. That said information is by ABC News. So the father is calling for an outside agency to do DNA testing on evidence. What that evidence is, I have no idea. So that would be nice to know what evidence is Mr. Ramsey speaking of. He and his wife have been cleared of any wrongdoing and their son, Bert. Many people have their own speculations of who was involved in the crime. Some think it was the father, the mother, the son. I really didn't focus on it much as of late. I think I did one piece on this story. And I said perhaps there was somebody who was staying at the house that they didn't want people to know was staying there, such as a relative. Could it be possibly a relative did this? Maybe they had company from out of town visiting. Well, it's the holidays. They didn't want to implicate that person. But now mommy's dead. Maybe the father wants the truth to be known. I don't know. I don't really know what the hell's going on out there in Colorado. It's just, like as they said, it's a very strange mystery to go this long and still know nothing. It's very, very, very odd. All right. I have one more story to bring to you, a very baffling story. I forgot I had this other story I want to get out to you. One I would really like to do a separate video on because of how heinous the crime is against the said parties. It's very baffling information.
Now, this is simply unbelievable and straight out disgusting. A woman in Louisiana, close to my hometown, might have suffered the worst case of negligence you've ever seen before. Let me just tell you, there's some real graphic images ahead, so prepare yourself. This is so nuts, we just have to call this one a case of crazy-ass criminals.
If you can't count on your damn parents, just who can you count on? Sheila and Clay Fletcher have both been indicted in the death of their daughter in Louisiana. They're being accused of allowing 36-year-old Lacey Fletcher to waste away and eventually melt into a damn sofa. Literally. Lacey, who lived with her parents in Slaughter just outside of Baton Rouge, was found dead, partially nude and sitting upright, while also being submerged in a hole in a couch, covered from head to toe in urine, feces, and insect bites. The poor woman had bed sores that went down to the bone. Her body was found with live bugs and rodent excrement on it. A grand jury handed down the indictment in the murder of the 36-year-old who weighed less than 100 pounds. We simply can't make this kind of nasty ass up. Who are these people? Who are these damn parents? Meanwhile, we're told Lacey may have sat in her own filth for about 12 years, according to the coroner. She was found covered in maggots. Investigators say she died of acute medical neglect dating back to at least 2010. The coroner's office said the parents were on a weekend trip when Lacey died. They reportedly claimed she had extreme social anxiety and autism. Lacey also suffered from locked-in syndrome, a rare neurological disorder characterized by complete paralysis of voluntary muscles except for the eyes. Just so damn sad. But now it's time to lock these bastards up. Throw the book at them. A trial date has yet to be set in this case. Of course, they were just indicted this week. Now, if convicted, both parents could be sentenced to life in prison, which would be a short sentence for these bastards. Drinking water.
All right, everybody. Very disturbing information, because what you have to ask yourself, 12 years, she wouldn't have made it 12 years without food, water. She had social anxieties, allegedly some type of disorder that kept her muscles involuntary. What are we talking about here? How long was she dead inside of that house? They're also saying that the mother had a chair beside her. So what are we saying? She lived with her parents or she didn't? How long were they gone out of town? Where was the caregiver for her while they went out of town? How could you be sitting in the same room while your child is dissolving into a sofa? The picture is graphic, because you got to try to wrap your head around how it came to be that this woman died sitting upright, half naked, and also people living in the same house that would smell a dead corpse, fecal matter, urine, maggots, flies, plus rodent activity. So I'm going to sit beside you and watch you deteriorate. Then you're dead, and I'm still going to sit in the same living room with you. And I'm also going to watch bugs, insects, and rats run on top of you. How did the rats get in the house? Because when you see the picture of the house, it looks like a nice house. So is this a separate room? What? Sunroom? What? Because my understanding is that I heard something the other day that one of them had a sitting chair, a rocker or something beside the couch where she was deteriorating. This is the most humane of a story. And there are some stories out here where people have been left to die, not been fed, not been diaper changed. There was a case here in East Tennessee, outside of Knoxville many years ago, where they left them in the, they left the woman in the room, her family members, and they burned candles in the room because they wouldn't change her diaper. And then, of course, naturally, she eventually died. This woman here was under the age of 40. She had bed sores on her body. So I'm curious to how long she stayed in the room. Who lived in the house? Who came in and out of the house? Did she have a caregiver? How long was she dead in there? When was the last time she had actual food, diaper change, all of that? I'd like to get all that information, because I can't see 12 years. I can see her, yes, staying in the house for 12 years, but not laying in her own soil and urine and fecal matter for 12 years, because eventually the immune system would break down with open lesions and her body would get an infection. She'd die. It wouldn't take long for her to pass away. And we already know you can only go so many days to a week without food and water. I've seen a picture of the husband and wife. Hell, the wife looks sickly her damn self. Thinning hair. But she should look that way because look what you've done to your own damn daughter. You two have sat idly by and watched your child dissolve into a damn sofa. So then we have to ask the ultimate question. How did police find the child, the adult child? Who called the police or ambulance to say that this woman was dead in a sofa? And let me tell you, the pictures are explicit. So if you have a weak stomach, you need not go there looking. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. On to the main story. Vicky and Casey White, where are you? Why, Vicky, have you done this to yourself? Letting this man out of jail to go on the run with him. Lord have mercy. Give us strength. Search for Alabama corrections officer and inmate enters seventh day as officials piece together why they disappeared. This was uploaded 10 hours ago. CNN is the source. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, her body couldn't have sat for 12 years. I don't know about that. You want me to believe her body sat in a room for 12 years? Because that's what I'm trying to figure out. 12 years of neglect or 12 years dead in a sofa. So that means she had to have been in a house where they didn't live. Because I refuse to believe they sat in a house with her dead, watching roaches, rats, insects, maggots climb over, and I'm sitting right next to you. This is crazy. But hey, in Houston, a baby sat in a room dead for 11 months, covered up with a cover, and the parent, the mother, and her stinking ass boyfriend were going in and out of there, eating and living, and let the other two kids lay in there. So hey, anything's possible. Investigators are pleading for Alabama corrections official Vicky White to turn herself in as the search for her, an inmate she disappeared with, enters its seventh day. Vicky, you've been in the business for 17 years. You've seen the scenario play out more than once, and you know how it always ends. Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton said Wednesday on ABC's Good Morning America. Go ahead and end it now. Get to a phone, call 911, turn yourself in, and help us get Casey White back behind bars because you know that's where he's going to eventually end up. Well, I don't know, Mr. Sheriff. I don't know how this is going to end. Over the last week, authorities have discovered that Officer 56 and inmate Casey White, 38, had a romantic relationship and that Vicky White visited him multiple times in her off hours while he was in state prison, according to Singleton. The pair, who are not related, disappeared Friday morning when the corrections officer said she was taking Casey White to the courthouse before going to get medical attention because she felt unwell. But the two never showed up at the courthouse, and the officer didn't make it to the medical facility. In the days since they went missing, investigators have determined the officer and an inmate had a special relationship. This is in quotation marks. They're also classifying this as special treatment, not sexual. The sheriff has said they have not gathered any concrete evidence that the two have had a sexual relationship. Let me make that clear in this live. Okay. They determined that she and the inmate had a special relationship in which Vicky White afforded the inmate special privileges, including extra food. The investigation was aided in part by inmates to inform officials of the relationship over the weekend. Some of the inmates here in our facility sent word to our investigators that there was a relationship between the two, Singleton told CNN on Wednesday. We took their statements, what they said, followed up on it, and we did confirm that, in fact, there was a relationship there. Vicky White, who was set to retire the day she went missing, had also made some more major financial moves leading up to the escape. She sold her home April 18th for well below market value. The house sold for $95,550. The Lauderdale County records show the home is worth $204,700. Relatives and co-workers say they are stunned by the sudden disappearance of the corrections official, who Singleton has described as a model employee with an unblemished record, quote unquote. Vicky White has an active warrant out for her arrest on charges of permitting or facilitating escape in first degree. She's also no longer employed by the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office. The office said in a statement Wednesday, while Friday was her last day of work, her retirement papers were never finalized, the office said. Here are the key developments in investigations. Authorities desperately search to find the pair. Officials say Vicky White, who was Assistant Director of Corrections, brazenly violated department policy when she took Casey White from the jail Friday morning. Most of you have seen the video playing on the news and on social media where you see he is exiting a door while she is going out of another door ahead of him, which is not protocol. Corrections officers are supposed to always walk behind the inmate. The inmate should never walk in front of them. Rather, the inmate is cuffed, uncuffed, shackled, unshackled. The facility had a policy requiring that 2 sworn deputies accompany inmates at all times, including during transportation to the courthouse. Singleton said the policy was emphasized with Casey White after authorities discovered he had a plot to escape custody and take a hostage in 2020 and uncovered a makeshift knife on him. But that morning, Vicky White asked an officer to prepare Casey White for transport, saying she would take him by herself to the courthouse since the other officers had already left for court and she was the only officer available with the certified firearm, Singleton said. You have to admit that's very convenient that nobody was around for her to execute this plan to get him out of the jail. Very strange. Very coincidental, may I say. Surveillance video shows Casey White shackled, handcuffed, in an orange jumpsuit, being escorted into the back of Vicky White's patrol vehicle Friday morning. Investigation has revealed the pair then drove to a shopping center parking lot less than 10 minutes away, left the patrol car in the lot, and escaped in a gold or copper-colored Ford Edge SUV with minor damage to the rear left bumper, authorities said. We know that there was never any effort to go to the courthouse. They went straight to Florence Square parking lot, dumped the patrol car, got in another vehicle, and left, Singleton said. Investigators have traced the relationship to early 2020 when Casey White was brought to Lauderdale County for an arraignment on murder charges he is facing for the 2015 death of 58-year-old Connie Ridgway, according to the sheriff. As far as we know, that was the earliest physical contact they had, Singleton said. It was then that authorities found the homemade prison knife on the inmate and uncovered his plan to escape, leading the Lauderdale Detention Facility to reinforce its policy that he should be accompanied by 2 deputies at all times while in custody. So imagine, 2 years ago, he's in their custody, same jail with the knife. They discover it, and lo and behold, 2 years later, he has made his way back to this county jail, being arraigned for murder, a murder he confessed to, then retracted, and now he's on the run with the person who is the transporter. You have to admit, it is like a Netflix Lifetime movie, because what are the odds that he gets himself back to this jail and makes his way out 2 years later? What are the odds? 6 degrees of separation. Do the math. Casey White was returned to state prison after the arraignment to continue carrying out a 75-year sentence for a series of crimes he committed in 2015. The sheriff says the officer and inmate maintained communication, including visits from Vicky while in her off hours. Casey White was brought back to the Lauderdale County Jail in February to attend court hearings related to his murder charges. Over the course of this week's investigation, inmates said that Casey White was getting extra food on his trays and was getting privileges no one else got, and this was all coming from her, Singleton said. So what are the extras? He got extra slop on his plate. Well, what else did he get? Phone calls, visits, what? Subscription to Netflix. What the hell are we talking about? Because it keeps saying extra, extra, extra. Well, what are the extras? Because Queen is sure enough curious. Leading up to their escape, Vicky White purchased a 2007 Ford Edge SUV in Rogersville, about 25 miles east of Lauderdale County, according to Singleton. The night before she disappeared with Casey White, the officer parked the car in a shopping center lot where the pair would drive to the next day and flee in the SUV. When investigators were finally able to confirm the description of the escape car Monday, they intended to send it internally to other law enforcement agencies, but the lead was accidentally released to the public, which that's probably a good thing too. The description of the car is what we worked on hard all weekend because we had no clue what kind of vehicle they left in, Singleton told CNN's Don Lemon on Wednesday night. We put the word out to law enforcement to be on the lookout, and inadvertently, one of those agencies sent the description out publicly that really set us back. Singleton said the pair was likely ditched the car by now because the description is being widely shared. But investigators have gathered other leads on the possible location of the inmate and officer, he said. We've got several tips, especially east of Mississippi, the sheriff said, but added that authorities still do not have a clue where they're at. CNN is the source. So let's recap what was said in this commentary. Thank you for joining me. They've got allegedly a 6-hour window. You will see that in news clippings of the time they left the jail versus when they was discovered. About 3:30 is when they were discovered officially missing. So that was some hours. They're gone. Did she orchestrate this? Did he orchestrate it? That's the title of my video. How long was it planned? 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a month ago, 5 months ago? How did they talk? So you have to ask all those questions. I'm going to take you to News Nation now, who's going to chop it up for you and break it down how it came to be. This bizarre story of a corrections officer taking an inmate to a car and running off into the sunset with what we can deem as her lover. Is she alive? Is she alive? Is he alive? Will he harm her? Will she be dead weight to him? Who orchestrated this? Her idea, his idea? Did he bait her? Realize the position she had. They've got proof she visited him before this event, before he even got back to this jail for a second time. How long had this plan been in motion? I also have information that she was married and the husband died in, I believe, January. So now you got to ask yourself the bigger question. The husband, did he die naturally or what? And that also means she was cheating on her husband emotionally while going to see this man when he was in prison. Ding, 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 bingo card. Would she have left even if the husband was alive? Stay woke, everybody. Lord have mercy. This is a hot mess. This is a real hot mess. Let's get ready to hear some commentary from News Nation, where we now get to divulge and hear all the dirty secrets pertaining to Vicky. Vicky White. She used aliases to visit him in prison. Now, I would assume that even in prison, they're going to ask you for a state ID, and you are to match that said ID. So did Vicky White manufacture fake identification to visit her lover while he was incarcerated? 2, where did they discuss this orchestration to get him out of prison, break him out? 3, did he even know she was going to break him out? Was this just spur of the moment? She sold her house, bought this car, took it upon herself last Friday to tell him he's going to a visit. He assumed it was the truth. He knew nothing about it, because that's what's going to be baffling if we find out later that Mr. White, although he's a murderer, he's tried to escape before allegedly, he knew nothing about her wanting him out of there. Let's go there. Let's go there, because where did they talk to say, hey, this is the plan. Hey, I want you to break me out. Hey, I'm going to break you out. Hey, let's do this. Hey, I love you. Hey, I got to be with you. Where did they conspire? Because you know there are cameras and audio in the jail. So where did these two conspire to this escape? Because that's the one thing you have not heard in any commentary. I haven't. How did the two talk to say, hey, on this day, we're going to get you out of here? Stay woke. All right. Escaped inmate officer may be traveling in Ford Edge, News Nation. First audio I'm going to play today.
For a dangerous inmate and a suspected murderer, along with a jail official, a corrections officer, who helped him escape. Casey White and Vicky White They're not related by name or family, but they've been on the run since Friday morning. They're considered armed and dangerous. Since then, we've learned some new details about their relationship and how this was all unfolding. Kelsey Kernstein live from that correctional facility in Alabama, speaking one-on-one with the sheriff. Kelsey?
Adrian, this is a very tiny town. Everyone that I've spoken to, they're absolutely shocked that this happened. And Sheriff Singleton, he says this all happened right under his nose.
We know for a fact that Vicky White visited him in prison more than once.
Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton says investigators confirm Corrections Officer Vicky White had an ongoing relationship with inmate Casey White for years, and none of them knew anything about it.
This whole scenario is complicated and complex, well thought out, well planned out.
Sheriff Singleton now realizing months ago Vicky White sold her house for much less than what it was worth and announced just days ago she was retiring from the detention center.
Said she looked forward to spending some time at the beach, typical things.
But now Singleton says he has reason to believe it was all a premeditated ploy in her effort to escape with inmate Casey White. And this video, new this morning, showing Vicky White's patrol car zip down the street on Friday, just minutes after she helped inmate Casey White escape the jail. After telling other employees she was leaving to take him to the county courthouse for a mental health evaluation. For no such appointment. Singleton says he worked with her for 16 plus years, calling her family and a model employee.
She was dependable. She had a strong work ethic. If you gave her something to do, it's going to get done. It's going to get done right.
Singleton also saying his entire department and everyone that knew her are embarrassed as to how this could happen.
I don't know that we've gotten out of that shock yet. It's just hard to fathom that she would do something like that.
And now Singleton and other employees, they are concerned about Vicky's whereabouts, her safety. They said that Casey White is armed and dangerous, believed to be armed and dangerous, as well as that he's very unpredictable. The U.S. Marshal also has that award out for up to $10,000. Adrian.
All right, thank you so much, Kelsey. Also, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven.
All right, everybody. News Nation. That's the first audio source. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here, and I'll bring it back up when I do my commentary. The thing that's interesting is the fact that nobody had a clue that this was going to happen. Naturally, they weren't going to tell anybody. But as I said, who is the orchestrator of this plan? Escape. Was it all her or all him or what? Who brought it up first? When was it brought up? How long have they been planning this escape? The fact that nobody was around the jail to see anything that seemed suspicious, to say anything, is odd to me. 2, the fact she drove through town to the next location and drop them off in a parking lot. What are the odds that nobody even drove by to say, hey, what are you doing in this direction? Hey, what are you doing over here? Because you got to remember one thing, that when she had him in the car, she had to get out of sight to unlock his handcuffs and shackles. So did she pull over somewhere en route and then uncuff them, or did she wait till she got near the car, the second car, to unlock her handcuffs and shackles on her lover? So you have to ask all those questions because they're going to be pressed for time to get the hell out of Dodge so nobody rolls up. We know what it's like living in small town America. Anybody can drive by at a given moment and pull up on you, such as another police officer. Stay woke. You have seen police officers sit on the side of the road, sheriffs, car for car, talking to each other in opposite directions, side by side, just shooting the SHIT. So what are the odds that nobody is there when she leaves the precinct, whatever, with him? Nobody there to question anything. Rides off into the sunset. Nobody bumps into her. Nobody follows her. Nobody runs up on her. Exiting a police car in a shopping center with another car waiting. So obviously she parked the car, as they said, somewhere where there was no security cameras. So now we have to ask the ultimate question. How did law enforcement get information about this orange colored car, copper colored car, or whatever color it is? How do you all know she got into a Ford Edge? Where did she buy the Ford Edge? In the town where she lived? neighboring town, hour away? What are we saying? So you have to ask all those questions. And that's where the plotting comes in. How long was this plotted? Because you don't sell your house overnight. She sold it for undervalue because obviously she was in a rush. Was he rushing her? Hey, make it happen. Gotta go. Gotta get out of here. I can't stay in here any longer. I'm going crazy. What was the conversation between the two? Where did they talk about this? How long had they planned this? Is she the sole orchestrator? Is he the orchestrator? Did he bait her by coming back up here for arraignment and decided I'm going to use this woman to get myself out of this situation because she's the courier for the inmates? What are we saying? Next video. Thank you for joining me. Escaped inmate would stick out, former FBI agent says. News Nation Now is the source, uploaded 14 hours ago. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. 8-minute video.
Started out as a search in a small Alabama town, and now it is nationwide. Police in Alabama and elsewhere, including the FBI, are now looking for a dangerous inmate, also a suspected murderer who faces the death penalty, and the jail officer, the official in charge of him, also wanted in helping him escape. So Casey White is the inmate. Vicky White is the officer. They're not related. They have been on the run since Friday morning, and they got kind of a 6-hour head start before anybody even noticed they were gone. They're considered armed and dangerous. They have a high-powered weapon. They have a shotgun. Now surveillance video has come out revealing the moments that they left those prison walls. We have now learned that the two had a special relationship for at least 2 years, right under the noses of the entire department. So there was Vicky. She goes in. Out comes Casey in handcuffs and shackles. Notice that she's got her back to him, casually walking to the patrol car. He moseys on out, gets in the car. They were supposed to go to a mental health evaluation that was not ever scheduled. And of course, they don't arrive. Earlier tonight, I spoke with the sheriff who is running this investigation. This is his department, and here's what he told me.
He would get favors from her specifically that other inmates didn't get. An extra biscuit on his plate for breakfast. That sounds like a small thing. Things like that, little things that would mean nothing and be insignificant on the outside, but are major issues sometimes on the inside.
Maybe more than just a biscuit tonight. So joining us for more, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. It seems like something right out of a movie, right? Like this doesn't happen.
But it will on Netflix in about a year.
Well, and it also, Bobby, it could end really, really badly because this is a dangerous felon. He faces the death penalty, has absolutely nothing to lose, and he's on the run. So first of all, they had a lot of time to plan this. If they've been in a relationship for 2 years, he's been behind bars. He's thought of nothing else but his escape. So they could have had not just a getaway plan, but a getaway place that they're hiding out, and they were prepared to do this.
That's a great point, Marnie, because physically they are somewhat easy to spot. I mean, this guy is 6'9", 300+ pounds. He's a behemoth. He's a monster. He's the kind of person that if he was sitting in a restaurant, even a fast food restaurant, somebody that big walked in, you'd do a double take. You'd see him. She's much, much smaller. So to see them together would be a very obvious thing. So I think you're right on that, in that they may be holed up somewhere simply because people are going to notice somebody that big, and particularly if they're with somebody much, much smaller like that. So I think that's a great point. I think that the reports are that she recently sold her house for much below market value, which probably means she got an all-cash deal, and that could be funding this getaway plan.
Yep, she announced that she was retiring. She sold her house. She bought a car the day before the two of them took off. She also recently lost her husband, so she was going through a tough time to a health issue. Vicky's safety obviously is important tonight, Bobby, whether she went willingly or not. She's disposable to this criminal who is capable of terrible, terrible things, and no use to him once he's out, right?
The minute she outlasts her functionality to him, her utility to him, she's gone. The minute he sees her as a possible liability, she's gone. And one of the people he was formerly in a relationship with actually came out and made a public statement to that effect, pleading with her, saying, look, the minute he doesn't see you as a benefit to him anymore, you're gone. Your life is worthless to him. This is a guy that doesn't value human life. He's got a hugely violent criminal history. He's the worst case scenario for a fugitive hunt because, like you said earlier, he may not be taken alive. He may have that attitude. And I pray for the officers and the marshals who are tracking him down. I urge the public, if they see them, do not engage. Do not try to take their picture. Call the marshals. The U.S. Marshals are on this. They have an app, a tip app that you can download. Go to the Marshals app and report any type of scene, but do not approach them. Do not take their picture. Do not follow them. Because this guy is extremely dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Bobby. And at some point, he's going to come up for air, and you don't want to be caught in the crosshairs of that. A quote from his ex-girlfriend, by the way, who really has just been shouting from the rooftop in the last 24 hours how dangerous this guy is. She says, and she's talking about Vicky here, if she is still alive, she needs to get the hell out. Run as far as you can and turn yourself in and contact somebody. Do the right thing before you lose your life or somebody else does. So how do they go about, the marshals and this local department, which clearly this has gotten so big that they're going to need help finding him. How do they go about tracking him down? I mean, cell phones, digital evidence, the clues over the last 2 years trying to figure out what this plan was. How soon before you think they surface?
Well, it'll depend on, with a fugitive, the main thing is how much funds they have to keep themselves squirreled away before they have to, because the only reason they pop up, and if you remember, Eric Rudolph was a fugitive in the North Carolina woods after the Centennial Park bombing for 2 years, and he only popped up because he ran out of food, and he ran out of places to break into, these cabins where he was getting food. So it will depend on how much cash they have. That will depend. That will serve as, they will only pop up if they have to. So right now, whatever their plan was, I'm sure the marshals are scouring their records, their communications, their social media, whatever it is, to find out where they planned on going, because it's really difficult to have a plan to go to a place without ever having searched it on the internet or been there on vacation or something. You can't pick a place on a map and just go there without some kind of pre-staged intelligence about that place and how you went about getting that. And so I'm sure they're scouring their backgrounds, particularly her background, to see if she got brochures for any place, if she looked into something on her home computer, anything like that. That's what they're looking at to go, because, like I said, it's almost impossible just to throw a dart at a map and say that's where we're going to go when you don't know anything about that place.
Right, you're trying to follow the breadcrumbs. Bobby, real quick before we let you go, I mean, people do crazy things for love, but this has to be, she had an exemplary record. She worked for the department for 16 years. She was announcing her retirement, not a blemish in her career. And then this, so some form of manipulation is speculative at this point, but I mean, what would provoke her to do this, to form this relationship with him? And I mean, what's happening behind prison walls that most of us don't know? Guards and inmates and manipulation potentially in this case.
Yeah, well, I was talking to colleagues about this today. We're befuddled about what motivated her to do this. But as you said, she was in an emotionally vulnerable state. She lost her husband recently. That could play into it. But these guards and inmates do kind of bond because they're together all day, every day. They probably spend more time with these inmates than they do with their own families. So they have to really be on guard, and the system has to be set up to determine whether or not this is happening, whether inappropriate relationships are happening, and to stop it before it gets to this point.
Well, the manhunt continues tonight, and let's hope they're closing in on them, and we have news to report on it soon. Retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, good to have you on tonight. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
News Nation is the source. That was source number 2 pertaining to this bizarre story of a woman risking her life, livelihood, reputation, leaving behind a mother and a dog to be with an inmate where she worked. It's very sad. Very, very sad. I'm going to check, make sure I play everything that I had so far for this. Want to let you all know my second movie of the week is called Above Suspicion. It's by Lionsgate. You can find it on Tubi, on Roku. For those of you who are interested in movies, this is based on true crime coming out of Pikeville, Kentucky, of a drug. People who were selling drugs back in the late 80s. And it's the story of a woman who got herself involved with a FBI agent. And I will not tell you the rest. It's a very good movie for those of you who like true crime stories and dramas. Please check out Above Suspicion. It's on my community board, and it's also now playing on Tubi, on Roku, if you're interested. This is movie number 2 of the week. Thank you for joining me. This is some sad stuff. Very, very sad. I'm trying to remember if I played this comment. We'll make sure I played everything for you guys. Let me go ahead and chop this up for you. You now know that she was married. That was mentioned yesterday. Some people in the chat was saying that she was married. Well, now it was confirmed in this audio that she was married. The husband just passed away. So we have to ask ourselves the ultimate question. How long was she married? Did the husband die of natural causes or suddenly died? How long was the plan in motion? Was the plan put in motion before the husband died? We now know that she was emotionally cheating on her husband because she had been seeing this man allegedly for 2 years. She went visiting him. It is alleged that she was using aliases to go see him incarcerated at the other prison that he was dying to get out of. So that means she was seeing another man in a prison while she was married. If I'm to believe that she was married at the time she was going to the prison to visit Mr. Casey. What was it about Mr. Casey that she allowed herself to get in this predicament? I will now ask the questions pertaining to this story. Who is the orchestrator, Vicky or Casey? Who was the first one to bring up an escape plan? How long was it planned? How did they discuss it, considering he was an inmate? They have audio and cameras inside of the jail. Did she ever take him in a separate room to risk talking about this escape plan? Did she plan it on her own to surprise him? Did he ask her to help him escape 2 years ago or recently? As I said, who was the orchestrator? When did they discuss this plan? Inside of the jail or on a run in the car? Since she's the transporter, did she talk about it with him inside of the police car away from the precinct? How did this come to be? How did this happen? Where she was able to go undetected to take the man alone, which broke protocol for an official to be in the company of an inmate alone. It is said the 2 officers are always supposed to be in transport with an inmate. When you watch the video, you will see him exit out of a door that sits behind the door that she was exiting out of into the parking garage of the precinct. So that shows you she was very comfortable with her job, very comfortable with her title to walk out ahead of the inmate. It was almost as if they were walking out of an apartment building and she was walking ahead of her lover. Stay woke. Seen on camera didn't matter because she knew she was trying to get this man to safety. Was she nervous? Was he nervous that they would even be able to get away with this? The fact that that appointment was not legally on the books. So the person looking at the books, who's going to be held responsible for these 2 getting out of there? Will there be a reprimand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Will there be a reprimand? Because somebody's going to have to stand account for how she was able to get him out of that jail. Because if there's no legal appointment for medical for him at the courthouse, then the person who looked at the books to see, hey, I'm getting ready to take Mr. White out to a medical appointment, blah, 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 did the person not look at the sheet to see that he had no appointment scheduled? What are the odds that there were no other deputies around for her to give that to the person who was over the booking? See, something's very off here. Is this place this small and lax? How many deputies are working there at a given time, morning shift? How many deputies total work for this precinct? How many people are working as staff members? How many people work in transport? A lot of questions, but we're not getting no damn answers. We got the sheriff doing a lot of talking about turning yourself in, turn yourself in. She's not going to turn herself in. He ain't turning himself in. No way. She made a sound decision to go along with this or orchestrate it or however it goes. But she is a grown woman, almost 60. She knew exactly what she was doing. I do not wish her harm, but she's playing a very dangerous game to be running around the country with a murderer. His height is hard to conceal. You heard that in the commentary I brought you by News Nation. 6'9", 250 pounds. He will have to be wearing a mask, cowboy hat, baseball cap, beard, long hair, wig. If indeed he had short hair at the time. She would have to change her hair color. Wig, red hair, black hair, makeup, something to look not like herself. Very short, petite lady. She looks kind of, masculine, in my opinion. No makeup wearing. Just a plain, short Caucasian woman who's taken up with an inmate. Why? Who said something to whom first to get this relationship crunk? Did he flirt with her initially when he first came to Lauderdale County to be arraigned years ago? Did she take a liking to him that first time? She had to for her to be visiting him 2 years now. Or involved with him 2 years. Somebody had to be liking somebody. How did it start? Who said what to whom first? How long was this plan orchestrated? Once again, who is the orchestrator? Pre-planned second car. Because we hear that she bought a car, Ford Edge, and parked it in a parking lot. So what you have to ask yourselves is the ultimate question. If she bought car number 1, is there a car number 2 also purchased at another location? Because she sold her house, retired, took the man out to jail, went to a second car, jumped out of a police car into a second car. Is there another car that they got into after getting into the Ford SUV? Did she also pay for a hideaway, getaway, cabin, trailer, camper? How did they track her to that Ford Edge? And where she bought it from? It's very interesting information. Is Vicky White happy, satisfied, being on the run with Mr. Casey White? Or is she scared of him, scared for her own safety, her own demise? Has he turned on her, become violent? Has she now seen another side of Mr. Casey White? Or is he actually a chameleon? He's playing the role because he needs the support. Or has he ditched her, discarded her, and taken her damn money? $95,000 from the sale of a house plus whatever she had in savings. Stay woke. Did she spend some of that $95,000 from the sale of her house on that SUV? SUVs are not cheap no matter what the year is. So she had to spend a lump sum on that. So that's taking some money out of her pocketbook, buying that truck. Where are they? Are they still in the dirty South, or have they migrated Midwest, West Coast, New York, upstate? Easier to blend in somewhere like New York because the Big Apple, although it's a small island, it's easier to blend. But we see with the subway shooter, people spotted him. Oversized black man was not hard to find in the little island of New York. Very interesting information. Where are they? California, Arizona. Did they cross the border? I don't know. Be easy to go somewhere where you know you're not going to be extradited. But who's to say that Mexico wouldn't extradite? You never know. But I can't imagine going on the run to Mexico. That wouldn't be my cup of tea. Going on the run wouldn't be my cup of tea, period. But I sure as hell wouldn't want to go to Mexico with nobody. Not even just by my damn self. Where are they? Are they still in the dirty South? Or have they migrated up north, out west, East Coast? I would say going to a bigger city would make it better because people in the city tend to mind their own business and stay in their lane. Not like here in the South where people like to talk and gather and point out stuff and tell all their damn business. You could blend in much better in a bigger city of a couple of million versus a couple of 100,000. Have they been watching the news? Watching themselves on TV? One second, please. Hold on one second, you guys. Okay, sorry about that. Take a call. As I was saying, have they been watching the news? Because the news has not really bitten their tongue pertaining to the perception of her and their assumptions to how this came to be. So many people have been saying he could harm her. Hope he hasn't harmed her. So now imagine sitting in a room with your lover on the run, hotel, camper, wherever you all are. And you hear the news people saying, and family members and his ex-girlfriend, whomever, random people saying, yeah, they had a relationship. Yeah, he got extra food. Yeah, I miss my daughter. Yeah, my son ain't a monster. And hey, I hope he doesn't kill her. Imagine that. Imagine sitting in a room with a man who has allegedly murdered a woman, broken into people's houses, shot at people, done vile things to a human being, and you're now beside him listening that people talk about you on the national platform. So imagine sitting there with a killer and listening to yourself be talked about on the news and people saying, I hope he doesn't kill her. That'd have to be a terrible place to be. You're sitting here on the run with your lover, watching people talk about both of you and hear people say, I hope he doesn't kill her, or I think he will kill her. He doesn't need her. That would be a terrible, terrible place to sit because it's bad enough you're on the run. But imagine hearing people say, I think he will kill her. I'm sure you can hear a pin drop wherever they are. As I said, it's been mentioned that she had a husband. He just passed away. So that means she was emotionally cheating with this man while he was incarcerated in a prison. And her husband was doing what while she was visiting him? Where did she tell her husband she was going when she went to visit him? Did she stay overnight? Because how far is that prison from the Lauderdale jail? Did she stay overnight to go visit her lover? And if she stayed overnight, what did she tell her husband where she was going? Or did her husband even care? As I said, did the husband die suddenly or was he ill? Somebody in the chat says she was married 4 years. I was curious how long she was married. Did she have a happy marriage? Was she happily married? Well, one could say no, she couldn't have been happily married because she was seeing an inmate that came through her jail system at one time. And then she took it upon herself to go visit him. It has also been reported that she has used aliases to go visit him in the prison. So as I said, if she used aliases, then that means you had to have ID. So how many places has she visited him for them to even come up with the word aliases plural? ES is on that. So did she have fraudulent ID in her possession while visiting him? So then that means you'd have to change your look. You want me to believe nobody noticed her in a red wig, black wig? You're still short. Still have the same body frame. Come on now. What are we talking about here? Has she dated other men locked up in prison? Is that why there were more aliases mentioned? What is the evidence of the aliases? State IDs, work IDs, what do we say? Fake driver license, which is also a crime if she has IDs, state IDs, and they are fraudulent. Does she have any regrets of going on the run with Mr. Casey White? Does Mr. Casey White have any regrets going on the run and having this lady in tow? Are they still together? Are they both still alive? Has he harmed Miss Vicky White? Have they fallen out, had a disagreement, altercation, physical violence? What are these two doing? Will we have a worst case scenario of only one coming forward or popping up or being captured and one's deceased? If caught, will Vicky White face a lot of time in prison? Will she give a motive, a reasoning for why she went on this farce along with this man? Will she tell the truth why she did it? Will she have any regrets for doing this? Because she has left behind a mother, friends, a pet, and it shows she didn't care about her own mother. It's the grief from her husband causing this on the run scenario. She lost her husband. She's grieving. She became lonely. She needed company of a man. He was sweet talking her. But we now know that they've been talking for 2 years. So they've obviously built a bond even before her husband died. And the fact that she used aliases showed she was intent on visiting him. So feelings were already involved in order to use fake aliases. So I don't know if it was fake aliases just by name only or by ID only, or both. Naturally, staying on the run, you have to be undetected. So what are they wearing? How do they look? Has she cut her hair, dyed her hair? Is she wearing false hair? He can't change his height. She can't change her height. She's little. He's tall. Super tall. Floppy hats, cowboy hats, shades, mask. We're still in COVID, so nobody's going to say anything about you wearing a mask. It's now bright and sunny in most states. You can get away with wearing sunglasses. What a mess Vicky White has gotten herself into. This is a very bad story. As I said in my live yesterday, that everybody is capable of doing wrong, doing things for people that possibly they wouldn't normally do, never thought of doing, but because they got involved with the person, they went along with the flow of things such as illegal activities. And it has happened to many people, and it will continue to happen because we as civilians, we become weak-minded, weak for people, lusting in behind them, and we do stupid things for them, with them. And this is one of those times where a woman has done a very stupid thing by risking her livelihood, her pension, her money, relationship with her mother, to go run in behind a man who can't offer her a damn thing. This is the worst case scenario of chasing a bum. Because as I said, she could easily have chased a bum that was free. no good, didn't have anything going for himself, stayed in trouble with the law, a misfit. But instead, she chose an inmate who was facing possibly death. Let's talk about that. Capital murder, not just he murdered somebody. He's already facing 75 years before they even knew each other's government name. Stay woke. Then he says he killed a woman, then he recants. And as I said in my live yesterday, is it possible he recanted because he had a patsy that he was going to work on to try to get up to the jail, which he did, and then get in her favor, get in her pocketbook, get in her heart, get in her soul, get in her mind, and lure her to help him get out of there? Because you have to ask yourself the ultimate question in this story. This is not a movie, but it has turned out as if it was written as a script. Because in most stories like this, nobody, plural, would have this much good luck in executing an escape plan out of a jail. Stay woke now. If I'm to believe that he baited her from day one once he met her, saw her job title, zoomed in on her day one, went back and executed a way to get back to Lauderdale jail because of Vicky White, this was the most intricate, well thought out plan that became executed last Friday in Alabama. You have to admit, it is well executed, no matter how you look at it, because anything could have changed at a given moment. Any deputy could have pulled up in that garage, asked her where she was going, and said, "Oh, I'll ride with you." Stay woke. Any officer could have followed her while in tow with Mr. Casey on their way to the second car. "Hey, where are you all going?" Could have just followed her because she's going in the opposite direction of a courthouse. Stay woke. Somebody could have pulled up on them when they got to the second car. Another police, sheriff, state trooper could have pulled up just to see who's in the car. What you doing over here? Stay woke. Passerbyers could have noticed her in the car, wanted to speak, say hello. So you all have not asked the ultimate question. How in God's name did she get that man out of that jail undetected, unquestioned, down the street, down the road to another car, undetected and not stopped? So somebody has to stand account for what Vicky White did besides Vicky White. Because if nobody knew better, you would think she was the only one working in the damn jail that morning. And in a small town, you have to ask, well then damn, how many deputies did they have working? What are the odds? 6 degrees of separation. How it ends up that people end up in each other's peripheral that didn't know each other, but are friends of family. The odds of this woman making it out of the jail, walking out with him behind her as if they were dating, going to the car to get some McDonald's or lunch, stay woke, without being interrupted. One could almost think that others could be involved in the escape because it's too perfect. And I'm not saying that others are involved. What I'm saying is, what are the odds of them not being interrupted? It's as if she knew on that day there would be nobody around for her to be interrupted to get Mr. Casey White out of the jail. What are the odds? That's why you have to ask, how long was this planned? Why didn't anybody mention this special relationship to her superiors? How was it that she was able to get him more food? So you have to ask all the important questions because there's something off with the story. You're damn near acting like this is a very small jail of what? 5 cells? 1 transporter? Come on now. Do the math. Because somebody, as I just told you, is going to have to stand account for what the hell happened down there in Alabama last Friday. They just said they started using 2 people to walk an inmate in and out because he had a knife on him 2 years ago. So what are the odds? 2 years later, he's in cahoots with the damn transporter who gets him out. And he's walking behind her out of a damn jail door into another vestibule room, out into another door where she's going out to the parking garage where the police car is. You can't make this up. Yes, she should have had paperwork. That's my point. And nobody questioned it. Exactly. So the person who's looking at the paperwork, which is the booking, you didn't see that this was an actual visit because somewhere in there should have been his name, where he's leaving, and a time that he's to return, plus the officer. So what was on the piece of paper for that morning for Mr. Casey White? Well, Beth, that's not true. The people in the jail did snitch. Because if you listen to my commentary, it's in here that they got information from the inmates about the special treatment. This is how they got the information that there was some type of something going on between the two. Maybe not sexual, but favoritism. The jail people have talked. That's where the information came from. So that snitches get snitches, stitches is not true. Because somebody did talk, and more than one. Talk to the sheriff. The point is, what was put on the paperwork for him to get out of that domain? What was on the books? Joel says somebody else could be involved. Perhaps. Because like I said, how many people work there? How many people are transporters? Where was everybody at court? She had to have known that. She had to know that nobody would question her because as I believe in the commentary I brought you yesterday, the person under her wouldn't question her because she was the boss. But you do have some nosy Parkers who would say something. Oh, you're taking Mr. White out? Where's he going today? Oh, I didn't know he had an appointment. Oh, I don't see anything down here. So is it possible that Vicky White put in a fraudulent request for him to go to the courthouse? See, now you got to ask all the pertinent questions. Who is the person that writes on the books? Who is the person that writes the information on the books of the people, inmates, comings and goings, their appointments? Real deal. Very good question. Who was monitoring the cameras? Exactly. Beth, what difference does it make? You snitching anytime you're not supposed to be. Let you tell it. A snitch gets stitches. Well, they talked. You think nobody saw the inmates going out to talk to the sheriff? You don't think they questioned where they were going privately to go talk? Somebody knows who went and talked to the sheriff because people watch everything. But the real deal, you have a very good point. Exactly. Who was watching the cameras? Because somebody still should have known she broke protocol by walking ahead of him, going out of the door to the car. So who's the person watching the cameras? That's why I said there's something off. Unless this is a very lax jail system of people not paying attention to what they're supposed to pay attention to. And the fact that the sheriff says, we started the protocol of having 2 officers escort an inmate out because he had a shank before. Well, as you see, she walked out of a door and he was in a door coming behind her out of another door. So exactly who was watching the damn camera? Nobody. Somebody's going to have to stand account for what happened in that damn jail. The fact that she's never been reprimanded for showing favoritism to an inmate. The fact that the inmate said he got more food, he got this, then that mean that went on for God knows how long. Why didn't anybody say anything to Vicky White? Was she ever questioned about giving him more food, phone call visits? Because they're not even describing what else favoritism he got. Did she let him use the phone more? So what is her real capacity in the jail? You're the transporter? Are you the one that also bring them meals? Are you also the one that takes them to use the phone? Are you also the ones that walk them to the infirmary? Are you also the one that walks them to the shower, bathroom? How's it set up? So you got to ask all those questions now. Details out on the ground when they do groundwork, community service. What is her actual damn title and what are the duties of her title? Because now you have to ask all of that. Now, Deal is saying the doors have to be buzzed open. Yes, I would assume so. Right, so that means somebody had to buzz you in and out, or she used a key to open the doors or a key card. It's very strange. But I can tell you, the only thing they're really focusing on in this case pertaining to the sheriff's office is wanting her to turn herself in, and that ain't about to happen. She's gone too far. She knows that. And she had to have known that before she executed the plan. So why would she turn herself in? She already knows she's going to go down in flames if she turns herself in, if the guy don't kill her first. Why am I going to sell my house to then turn myself in to get 15, 20 years for aiding a damn felon? Hell, I might as well just stay out here and ride the wave. And the sad part of the story is that some of you really think this man would kill her. And I'm not saying he's an angel, but it's the thought of you all thinking he would murder this woman. That's bad. Super bad. And you have to ask yourselves, why hasn't she thought of that? He's accused of killing a woman, then recanting it, breaking into people's houses, shooting at people, domestic violence. The ex-girlfriend has sent a message to her to run like hell if she gets the chance. And yet we're almost in 7 days and they're still on the run. And as far as we know, neither party is deceased. Well, we'll see, real deal, who gets fired. But I would be looking for a new sheriff to be in office my damn self. Because one is going to question everything that happened last Friday in that jail. How you all were allowing her to show somebody favoritism. You know the people had to been gossiping and talking, because if the inmates are gossiping, the people working in the jail had to be gossiping. So that means you all had to have given Vicky White a pass. Because there's no way you're going to sit here and make me believe no superiors in that jail did not hear of any hanky-panky improprieties going on between Vicky White and Casey White. No way I believe that. Nobody on the up and up didn't hear any rumors, because people talk. And they talk in jail and they talk in prison just like they talk in the street. The only difference, people are locked up. But as people told me that are locked up, ain't nothing different from the street versus what we do in here. We get high, we drink, we smoke, We talk on phones. We have access to the internet. We know what's going on in the street. The only difference, we're incarcerated. That is it. Okay, GB, thank you. Well, that don't make no sense because he had a knife. Crazy. Where are they? Is she still alive? Is he still alive? Are they still in cahoots together? Did he plan on using this woman and then discard her once he got somewhere out of sight? Yes, I know about that deal. But this is totally different. They're on the run versus a woman getting pregnant. Inmate getting pregnant or a female guard getting pregnant. This is the worst case scenario. You've committed a crime by breaking somebody out. The man is facing death. He obviously didn't want to stay in prison, jail another day. I do believe he orchestrated this crime possibly years ago to get to that jail because of Vicky, because they had been talking for 2 years. So perhaps this plan was put in motion years ago once they built up a rapport with one another. She obviously was cheating on her husband, emotionally that is, because the man just died this year. She was seeing Mr. Casey White at another prison 2 years ago. So that means if she was married 4 years, she was only married 2 years when she took up an affair with Mr. Casey White. His mother claims she knew nothing of the relationship between he and the guard lady, whatever you want to call her, transporter. Her mother says the same. She had a ho-hum life. She did the same thing every day. Went to work, came home to eat at the house, pick up the dog, and went back home. And they lived next door to one another. Now we hear that she was married, but the husband is no longer living. Did the husband die of natural causes? We'd hate to find out that, hell, she could have had him knocked off or poisoned. Hey, we're going to do lifetime. We're going to go all the way with it. This is sad. Because you would think a person would say to themselves, this is not worth doing penitentiary time. I work in the system. I know the system. I've seen what comes through here. I don't want to be that person. But Miss Vicky, you have now put yourself in the category of a thug, a criminal. It's all the same. You're now on their level. How did you get to this point? When did you get to this point? Why are you at this point? What was so bad about your life that you would take up with a felon, murderer, believe whatever he had to say, trust him to one day walk him out of that jail and risk your livelihood? Because indeed, he kills you, it would have been all for nothing. If you stay on the run, it's all for nothing. And if you get caught, it was all for nothing. You have to be a very sad and lonely human being. And there's many women out here and men who do not have a mate. They do not have a husband. They do not have a sustainable relationship. And they wouldn't think of doing some shit like this. And we all have made mistakes dealing with mangy ass human beings, machines, trusting them, giving them access to our lives, our houses, our cars, and they've betrayed us in the most disgusting way. But this is a whole nother level of trust. You trusted a murderer. And that's where people are going to have a problem with you. Because they want to know what the hell is wrong with your mindset that you would allow yourself to even be hoodwinked and bamboozled by Casey White to free him out of that jail and ride the ride with him. What in God's name could he have said to you to risk this? To leave behind an ailing, an older mother, pet, friends, camaraderie for a felon, murderer. sociopath. What did you see in him that was worth this? I pray Casey White has not harmed you if you can hear this video, because I don't think you know what you have done to yourself, what you've done to your community, what you've done to the judicial system. You've shown that there's lax behavior in the jail. You've shown that it's easy to hoodwink and bamboozle people. You've shown that a person can walk by people pretending to be half-assed normal and not have a good mindset upstairs. You've shown that and proven that you don't know people. Just like those people that work with you, your mother, the people in the community didn't know Vicky White, and you're going to find out soon you don't know Casey White. You have to have known his criminal history with the ex-girlfriend and the people that were in that house when he held them hostage. What is redeeming about him to risk this? Your livelihood. Are you this lonely that you would go out in flames for a murderer? But you did, though. And by the grace of God, you don't have any children, because I haven't heard any mention that you are a mother. Because imagine that you were somebody's parent, God forbid, had children under 18. You would risk abandoning your children for some thug. See, this is why we keep trying to tell people, you don't know people. Talking about her record is obsolete at this point. She had no blemishes means nothing. You all did not know Vicky White. And I think in the end, she didn't know herself. Because I can't believe she's sitting somewhere hiding out in America, happy with her decision. You could have gotten out here and mingled with people, went on dates, traveled. You probably would have met a nice guy, but you didn't give yourself a chance to see if you could meet somebody. You want me to believe that because your husband died, you just gave up on humanity and chose a felon/murderer instead? He didn't kill somebody in self-defense. He's a deliberate killer. So he feels nothing for anybody. And this is somebody you willingly chose to get in cahoots with, visiting, pen paling with 2 years ago. Yes, you broke an oath. And it shows that you're not to be trusted because you don't have good judgment. I'm all for redemption because we're all flawed, make mistakes. There are many people who have gone in the prison system, jail system, redeemed themselves from committing crimes, selling drugs, using drugs, stealing, whatever. They no longer participate in those activities. They have the right to redeem themselves. They have a right to try to make amends and live cohesively beside us out here in the street. But we're on a whole nother level versus what the hell you did up there in that damn jail. It's not the same. You went too damn far. You just went too far. So you really, when you look at the bigger picture of Vicky White was unhappy long before last week. Vicky White was unhappy 2 years ago because something in her sad, pathetic life led her to follow in behind an inmate in a prison while married. See, this is what you have to tell yourself about this story. It's deeper than just she walked him out of that jail. the people were lax in the jail. The people didn't question her title. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than an extra biscuit, extra phone call, extra slop on a plate. It's way deeper than that. Vicky White was insecure 2 years ago. Vicky White was possibly insecure 5-10 years ago. Vicky White was a mark. Vicky White possibly has been a mark. Vicky White has possibly done this type of behavior before, just not to the extreme of breaking somebody else out of the jail. Because what you have to tell yourself is the ultimate. Vicky White would have done this irregardless. Oh, you wasn't expecting that, were you? Unblemished, not a troublemaker, married for a few years, possibly no children mentioned, mother living next door, had a pet animal, but she had the propensity to aid a fugitive out of a prison jail system. So if it was not Casey White last week, it was going to be somebody. It just happened to be 16 years into her profession. Now that's something to think about. Because who is Casey White versus any other inmate? Just another damn number. Just another crook. Just another murderer. He's nobody special. Only to his mother and to the eyes of God. But in the end, he's just another number who hoodwinked and bamboozled this woman to aid him out of the jail and now currently on the run. So that's what some of you should be thinking about. It's really not even about Casey White. What he said to her, what he whispered in her ear, what he said to her in a letter, what he said to her during a prison visit. Oh no, it's not about Casey White. This story is about Vicky White. Pay attention. Because as I just said, Casey is just another number. Vicky is the star of the show because she would have done this with another inmate. So the ultimate question is, who is Vicky White? Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. You all have a wonderful weekend. When I get more information, because there will be more information coming out with News Nation later today pertaining to this storyline, I will bring you an update. I may go live later if there are any new developments pertaining to this very baffling, bizarre story out of Alabama. There are really no words for what has happened. And I think people need to take a closer look at what is really wrong with this scenario. Because really, when you look at the story, as I just said, Casey White is just another number. Just another inmate, just another thug, just another murderer, nothing special. There's something wrong with Vicky. We know there's something wrong with Mr. Casey. He's sick. He's a sociopath. But what the hell is wrong with her? That's who you really should be questioning. It's Vicky White. Prayers for any relatives that care about the young lady in my story who died 12 years of abuse by her parents. Prayers for Mr. Chappelle. Brought you information pertaining to Derek Chauvin. Plea deal. When I get more information pertaining to that and the other officers that will be going to trial, I'll bring you that said information. It's a very baffling story. Thank you, Real Deal. Thank you for watching. Thank you all so much. You all have a wonderful evening. As I said, when I get more information pertaining to this story of Vicky and Dumbo White, I will surely bring you this said information. You all have a great afternoon. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you.